a mystery altercation emerges, and not with the guys that took him to the island on the boat. Does this change things? We cannot ignore it. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. I want to thank you for being with us.
If people are sending in videos, they should be using those videos to conduct further investigation.
There is a group of people fighting at 5 p.m. Who are they? Where was he? He wasn't floating in the water. He wasn't on the shore. Tonight, evidence of a so-called mystery altercation is emerging. Straight out to Crime Stories investigative reporter Dave Mack. Dave, what can you tell me first about this so-called mystery altercation? And this is not with the men that went to Horn Island on the boat. You know what? Let me just be clear. Crime Stories is not a symposium, a gathering place for a witch hunt. We want the truth about what happened to Nolan Wells. We are here to convict no one yet. And if evidence of a mystery altercation with other young men arises, we are pursuing it. Dave Mack, what do we know about some mystery altercation? We think after the Triton left Horn Island.
Nancy, this is a mystery altercation that is being described through social media as something that took place around 5 p.m. that day. This is 30 minutes after the Triton already left. And in this particular account, a Bertram boat was seen leaving shortly afterward at a high rate of speed. Now, this social media conversation claims that a person, one of the passengers, pretty certain Nolan Wells, was part of a group that was, quote, almost fighting around 5 p.m.
Y'all, I'm confused. See how they play these games? Now they got to tell the truth. Tell me it wasn't the boys. All of a sudden, another mystery fight. Let's finish. I'll talk after this crowd.
Whoa, wait. Hold on, Nellie. Did you say 5 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay. The reason I jumped in, Dave Mack, is because 5 p.m., if Nolan was seen in an altercation at 5 p.m. on Horn Island, that's after the Triton, had already left. Let's see the boat, control room. We're talking about the boat leaving Horn Island. That boat. Had that boat already left when this altercation occurred? Dave Mack, that's a yes, no.
Yes.
Listen.
Yeah, they play.
The person said in the DM to another kid that is associated, not any of the kids that I interviewed to talk to, but that could be associated to some degree, that knew Nolan, that this person wrote a message saying,
y'all, they playing.
Me and my husband saw you arguing with Nolan, and to the effect of you're going to spend the rest of your life in prison. Nolan and another person that he may have been in an argument with, to me, are people that need to be investigated.
Guys, let me first introduce Cheryl McCollum,
Colgate
Investigative Research Institute founder. Let that sink in at coldcasecrimes.org. She's a star of a hit podcast that I have listened to on loop, by the way, Cheryl McCollum. And I don't like much of what you're saying yet. I keep listening. Zone 7, she's author of a brand new book, Swans Don't Swim in a Sewer, solving the cold case of the Flint River killer's daughter, and more. But for my purposes tonight, she's a forensics expert. Greg Morse, before I even get to the merits of this, where I meant to go with this is Everyone has been focusing on the young men that were on the boat that took him to Horn Island. Then we get this audio that we're trying to corroborate, where seemingly in the background you hear them talking about trying to revive Nolan Wells on the boat. Is that even real? We don't know yet. Or has it been doctored? Trying to find out. I've got experts telling me, renowned experts, by the way, it's real, and renowned experts saying it's not real. It's just like a trial, right? Where it's expert v. expert, who's telling the truth.
Sure.
I wanted to talk about this mystery altercation. If it happened at 5 p.m., that boat was already gone. Now, as much as some people want to hang the young guys on the boat, I want to make sure we hang the right person. If there is a mystery altercation after that boat lift, we need to be investigating that altercation.
Well, you're 100% right, because the 3 young men that are, at least the people are saying are involved in this, that went there with Nolan Wells, there's a specific timeline from what I read. They needed assistance on their boat. They left at 4:30.
You just gave me a chill down my spine. You can't introduce something because people say, I don't care what people say on either side. No, they mean nothing to me.
Nancy, that's the problem when we have things like podcasts today and people who are not qualified to talk about serious things like this. They're not experts. They want to get
y'all
likes.
Not experts.
Law enforcement
y'all wouldn't have done nothing without us.
He said he saw the DMs. I don't have a reason to think he didn't see the DMs. Now, many people are arguing that he has taken a side. We have not taken a side. I'm on the side of finding out why everybody got back to the mainland except Nolan Wells.
Well,
and
listen,
nobody saw anything.
Teenagers.
Nobody knows anything. It's just like Tupac Shakur got shot on the Strip. Nancy, at Vegas, and we still don't know what happened. Nobody saw a thing. That's BS.
These are young men hanging out. It's not unusual one may stay behind to hang out with other people. None of that is unusual for teenagers partying and having a good.
Okay, I have to say something, y'all. Stand back because of a girl, okay? But your homeboy boat having an issue. You decide to say F him and he the one brought you. Make no sense, y'all.
Time. So that fact alone doesn't mean anything. What?
Where's your cell phone? Where is your cell phone? And try not to lie. Where's your cell phone?
Okay. Right here.
Oh, really? Because here's mine. So you want to tell me Nolan Wells stayed behind and his cell phone went without him? I understand. Don't everybody start screaming that he didn't want to get it wet. Of course he didn't want to get it wet. But there's ways around that. You can go put it on shore in your shoe, like everybody else does, to hide it from people, and then retrieve it when you go. But no, he let the boat leave with his phone. I agree with his mother on that. That is not Nolan Wells. He was never away from his phone.
So that doesn't mean anything in of itself with what's coming out about this. You know, you're talking about him staying behind. You're talking about there's evidence that he was there after 4:30 p.m. If he's there after 4:30 p.m., Nolan Wells on that island hanging out with other people, that's it. The fact that a cell phone is on a boat and he's not as a teenager doesn't really mean anything at all.
Okay, you know what? I asked you about a mystery altercation, and should we be looking in that direction right now? And you're like going on and on about the cell phone.
No, but
everybody
that's my point.
Cell phone, which is everyone knows. You never
Nancy,
leave
that's
without
my
your
point.
cell phone.
You have to look at what really happened. If there was this mystery altercation, then yes, the police need to be investigating that. They need to be looking into that.
They lying. Yeah, they lying.
Hi, guys. Nancy Grace here. If you could be saving the 5. Let's hear Tatum again. And hey, take it for what it's worth. Try to get the truth out of what we're hearing. Okay? Listen.
Nolan and another person that he may have been in an argument with, to me, are people that need to be investigated.
With that, I agree with Tatum. As much as we disagree on practically everything else, if
they're trying to bottle this thing up to get the stuff off the boys. We know we heard on that tape. I'm sorry. I knew they were gonna do this. They're gonna blame it on these mystery people. Then they're gonna pretend like they don't know the people. Then they're gonna find the people because we're not gonna be satisfied on it, right? The world is not gonna be satisfied. It's gonna be a back and forth war. You know what I mean? Because all of them were fighting. They were drinking. Someone of age brought the alcohol. Every single one of them need to go to jail. Just like these stars, if they're panhandle, whatever you want to call them, sold them something. These people are getting time in jail. I don't care if they young or not. They know better. They knew to sneak to get it. They know not to do it in front of their parents. They know better.
This happened. And forget about the girl. I'm talking about the altercation.
Girls was
Cheryl
there.
McCollum. Come on. He dies. Nobody sees him. The others get back safely. Now we're hearing about an altercation afterwards. And I'm not ruling out that he was on that boat when they left. But now I'm hearing about an altercation. When you can't tell the truth of what's happening, look at who was angry. Look if there was an altercation. I don't know what happened, but when I hear altercation after the Triton left, I've got to go there.
You got to look at it. You absolutely cannot ignore it. But one thing we already know from the second autopsy, they would have mentioned if he had any type of injury to his knuckles, if he had been in a fight. We didn't hear anything about abrasions or bruising or any type of injury that would be indicative of somebody that is a college football player.
Whoa. Okay, now I've just told everybody that you're a forensic expert. It's starting to taste like a dirt sandwich. Because
oh my God.
Okay, I'm gonna let you sit in the corner and think about what you just said. Joe Scott Morgan is joining me, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, author of Blood Beneath My Feet on Amazon, star of a hit series.
He's been the only one have sense.
Joseph Scott Morgan. He is a death investigator with over 10,000 death scenes under his belt, deaths of all genre. Joe Scott Morgan, let's refresh Cheryl McCollum's recollection. That's what you say in court when obviously the witness is gone off the rails. Your Honor, pause, Your Honor, objection. May I refresh the witness's recollection? In other words, get it together. Don't you remember what we just talked about before you got on the stand and you give them a piece of paper and go, can we see that the drawings on the autopsy control room? Joe Scott, there's a big, thank you. There's a big honking mark, subcutaneous, deep reddening tissue on his occipital. If I hit somebody in the back of the head, it'd be right there. We don't know what that is.
No, we don't. But to Cheryl's point, she's accurate. And here's why. Because in forensics, it's not just about positive findings. It's also about negative findings, those things that we are absent. So in that report, as she had mentioned, there was no indication that there was any kind of contusions on the hand, the arm, no kind of defensive event like a parry with a forearm, scuffing of the knuckles, that sort of thing. This forensic pathologist that did the second assessment didn't see any evidence of that. And so that's the first place I'm going to go to, aside from not having the actual primary autopsy report that has not been released yet. But you've got an individual that has, in fact, been retained by the family that's making this assessment. And it's a pretty damn thorough assessment, as a matter of fact, based upon many of them that I've read over the years. You don't see any kind of insults to the arms, the hands, anything like this. The one thing about that thing in the back, this focal area that they're talking about is, and I come back to this all the time, Nancy, is that his body, Nolan's body, is in such a state of decomposition to this point that he cannot make a definitive assessment on that area. And he did a multi-layered dissection, which, by the way, according to him, had not been done by the state medical examiner's office in Mississippi. He just went about it a different way. And as a matter of fact, if you like that one, I got another one. The examination that this physician in DC did on Nolan's remains ranks right up there with the most thorough, hear me talking, the most thorough dissection that you can possibly do on human remains. It's the same one that we do on bodies that have died, individuals that have died that have been incarcerated, in custody deaths. You know what all that means: in the back of a cruiser, in a holding cell, in a prison. Those autopsies rank right up there with the most thorough that we can go. It's a very deep dive that they did on his body.
Joe Scott, you are stating that due to the level of decomposition in Nolan Wells' body, that you can't really figure out why his occipital bone area had deep reddening, and that was seen nowhere else in the body. That's because of decomposition. Isn't that true?
Well, it's true in the sense that that's what
Didn't you just say that?
I'm repeating what the physician said in his autopsy report. I didn't do the examination.
So then that would be a yes. So at that level of decomp that you're claiming could obscure the nature of the deep reddening on his occipital area, but yet on the other side of your mouth, you're claiming that even with this intense decomposition, you didn't see evidence of any reddening on his knuckles or any indication of a fight. So you want it two ways. You want to say decomp, can't tell what that was on the back of his head, but even though he's highly decomposed, I can tell you he didn't have any reddening on his knuckles. Really?
No.
Because I see a problem with that.
Okay, you've skinned your knee before, right? Okay. If you have an abrasion, that's completely different than a contusion. That means you have scraping and the tearing away of the skin. That's something that's very obvious. And guess what? I've been in enough fist fights in my life that I know what scraping. Right, I know, and you're misstating that because it's not a matter of reddening. When we look at hands, we also look at contact points where people are being abraded as a result of scuffing their hands. That's different than a color discoloration. We're talking about the top layer, the epidermis down to the dermis is being scraped away. He doesn't see any evidence of that in his autopsy.
I'm not talking about a scrape. I'm talking about if he had, for instance, reddening from a welt, the beginnings of a bruise, with that level of decomp, you're telling me you could still make that out?
No, those two things cannot exist in the same universe. You have to have an abraded area, and there would be multiple of them on his hands if he is punching or trying to defend himself.
But what if
yes, we can make out bruises. Yeah, we can make out bruises.
You don't always have to have scrapes on your hand when you throw a punch. You don't always have to have cuts on your hand when you throw a punch. That's not true.
Well, that sounds mighty convenient if that's the road you want to go down, because I've seen them many times.
That's what I'm telling you. What you're saying is mighty darn convenient. That the reddening on the back of his head, can't really tell anything because he's so decomposed, but you can see his hands well enough to know he was not in a fist fight. Yeah, right. That's convenient, Joe Scott. Look, I'm not trying to convict anybody. I'm trying to find the truth. I'm trying to find out if this evidence of an altercation really happened, and to further muddy the waters, now we have more witnesses stating what they saw.
Another report came to me of someone saying that they saw Nolan with a girl, and they believe that they saw Nolan and this girl struggling in the water. Not necessarily drowning, but struggling. Like it was obvious enough that the person was concerned when they saw Nolan in the water, and he was with this girl.
You know, that's from Officer Tatum's show. Cheryl McCollum, it seems to me that that's not true. Because don't you think if a witness saw one or two people, quote, struggling in the water, I mean, I would try to help them.
It makes no sense.
And they did nothing?
It doesn't make any sense. That wouldn't be their focal, that they would pay attention to those two people that are struggling to see, is one going under and not resurfacing? What can we do to help? The idea that they would watch that, see a struggle, and then what? turn back and finish barbecuing? That doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Not at all. So this is a problem, Greg Morse. You're a veteran trial lawyer. We're getting so much information, and a lot of it is inconsistent. And that is why you have cross-examination. So you can test the evidence, test whether it's true under the fire of cross-exam. When you have conflicting stories like this, my instinct is to go with the one that makes the most sense. What do you make of these claims that Nolan was struggling in the water? I really believe if he had been, quote, struggling in the water, that either.
Hello, you guys. I got a poll. Please click yes or no. Thank you.
She or her.
It's 48 of you guys in here. Shout out to X. Shout out to YouTube. Shout out to Gossip Colin. Please, y'all, let's do the poll. Let's kind of get a little proactive in here, please. Thank you.
Her friends would have come forward by now. I mean, what about these guys on the boat that had already left? Don't they want to save them? I mean,
well,
I'm just trying to find out what happened to Nolan. And if this is true, it may place him on the island after they left.
Well, that's it. And that's what the police are doing, is they're going to run these leads down, and they're going to try to verify what's credible and what's not before they go to a grand jury. They're going to exclude information that they think is completely uncredible. However, all of this information, if people are arrested at some.
No, I got a poll at the top. Do y'all not see it or no? If y'all can tell me if y'all see the poll. It's a poll at the top. It's to my left. It might be, it should be to your left, top left. It's a poll that I put up. If y'all don't mind, y'all can, if y'all let me know y'all in here watching, showing love. It's like 46 of you guys. This is my, I think, 16th live. So I want you guys to like chime in, because I'm watching it just like you guys. I am reporting and doing videos on my TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, but I'm now going streaming. If y'all don't mind, can y'all participate? Takes only 5 minutes. It's at the top right. It's just asking a question, about transparency and stuff like that. Do y'all think, kind of should it be private or should it be the, kind of public to sum it up? I'm sorry.
Point in the future and charged with a crime for Nolan Wells'
Thank
death,
you for watching.
Then all of these conflicting stories, all of these different timelines, they become a conflict in the evidence. And as you know, Nancy, there's 3 ways a jury can find reasonable doubt if this ever gets there. And one of those ways is in a conflict in the evidence. So these are all favorable things that would benefit a defendant or defendants down the road. However, there's a reason why law enforcement does investigations. Professionals do it, not podcasters talking about it. Verified sources, all of that is nonsense.
First and foremost, he just pissed me off. If it wouldn't be for us podcasters and us as citizens who go up in there and plead us guilty and not guilty, which they're not experts, right? They plead you guilty or non-guilty, 12 jury trial, right? Don't have no experience, but they give them the right to do that, right? Like, these people are just backwards. You know what I mean? Don't tell us about not being experienced, because if we wouldn't have got on y'all toes, y'all would have said this boy drowned. The end.
The police are going to keep information to themselves. They're going to also keep information private so they can test statements that come from people and verify what they're saying based on factors that don't get released in the media. So clearly something happened after 4:30 when the Triton boat apparently left.
They're trying to get
all of the
y'all. They trying to get them up out that section, boy. They don't want them to have nothing to do with nothing. They better speak up. They better speak up. Now y'all trying to act like he was there now. Nobody knew at first. Now we know. Come on, bro.
These things the police will find, they will discover. The police can discover whose phones were active at the time in that whole area if they choose. May not be able to use it in court anymore after the recent Supreme Court decision a few weeks ago on cell site location information. However, it's an investigative tool that they can line up who's there. They can also line these things up by the boats. Right. And they're calling CETO and things like that. So these are all things the police are going to verify and shake out what they believe led to this young man's death.
I can get the GPS, Morse. I can get the GPS, I
Yep.
can get the cell phone data, I can get the tracking data, I can tell exactly what time the boat left. But I can tell the truth of that. But I can't tell the truth right now about these conflicting reports. Was he on the boat? His phone was on the boat. That's the whole point. He's traveling with his phone, then he's on the boat. They're saying, no, he wasn't on the boat. Now, this altercation has arisen, evidence of that emerging after the boat left. Who's telling the truth? The mom, his mom says, no way would he have let the boat leave without his phone. Okay, that said, the mom is getting death threats. Nolan Wells' mother dealing with not only her son is gone, he's dead. The investigation going on. Now she's getting threats. Isn't it true, Susan Hendricks, joining us, investigative journalist, author of Down the Hill, My Descent into the Double Murder in Delphi, that someone actually called for an investigation into Nolan Wells' mother? Isn't she a home health care nurse?
She is, and it was an anonymous call saying that she needed to be investigated. To me, it was outright backlash connected to what happened to her son. It's despicable considering everything she's already going through. Anonymous calls to say that she's not up to par and needs to be investigated. It's sickening.
Restoring your title of the million investigating this altercation, this alleged altercation that took place after the Triton left. Placing Nolan still at Horn Island.
Sure. I need their photo evidence if they have it. I need the eyewitnesses, the ear witnesses, who saw what, when did they see it, how can they prove it? So if they can tell me who was in the altercation with him, then we're going to bring them in if they haven't been brought in. If there's some type of something they've captured on video or a photograph, that would be great. If it's associated with a boat, does that boat have GPS? When did that boat leave? Where did they go? I want all of that. So, you take the totality. You don't just take one thing, but, you're not going to take somebody's word that just put something on the internet. Have they gone down and talked to law enforcement? Will they come down and swear to what they are saying? That's where you're going to start.
The investigation into the death of Nolan Wells is ongoing. If you know or think you know anything, don't hide under your bed. Dial 228-769.
We're not doing nothing. Okay, I don't want to talk. You see what Don Lemon have to talk about. Is this about the Nolan thing?
Look, when you're in the media, you know that you have to fight it in many cases in two courts, right? The court of public opinion and then the investigation or the legal court. The return to Horn Island and all the things surrounding this. As a crisis PR person, what do you see here?
The minute you make something public and you make it a public availability, you're changing the narrative of the entire story. You are opening it up for everyone to make decisions. So I agree with you completely. There are moves being played right now. There are legal moves and there are communication moves. And there are a lot of bad communication moves in a lot of legal cases out there and reputational cases. But this was intentional, and it will come with intentional conversation and dialogue.
Yeah. Do you look at this as what they're doing, because they're not only, trying to, I guess part of it is to obviously to protect their clients, to help their clients, public perception, whatever, and that they have every right to do that. But do you see this as a potential, especially in this climate that we're in with the media, of trying to silence the media or a fear tactic because they're trying to just squelch people having a discussion about this, legitimate discussions, rather than just sort of online chatter?
Well, Don, just like you, I mean, we've been watching a lot of these cases for years, and you were certainly doing it on your side of the journalism desk. And when I do it in PR, I'm looking for moves. And this intimidation, defamation, when you are putting emotion behind it, it becomes somewhat threatening. That threatening type of legal moves is something I see happen all the time. They want to force people into compliance by not saying anything. Whenever I see that as a first move or a very loud move, it usually signals that the evidence there might not be there. So we have to use that intimidation as a tactic. It doesn't mean that anyone is guilty, but bad communication doesn't mean anyone is guilty, but bad communication comes with complications. And that's what's certainly happening in this case.
Let me ask you this, Judge. When you, again, as you look at this, which you talked about the PR strategy here, and then, we talked about the defamation cases, because that's part of it, right? Because the family said that they may sue some people, and then we have these, the friends saying that they may sue some people, but the family's suing for a different reason, except with this defamation and slander, that's a very high bar.
It is.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. It's a very high bar because obviously the defense to that is truth. And I think these interviews that they've done, I wouldn't have had anybody go on anybody's channel to do any type of interview at this point, because every statement they make is going to be under scrutiny. Every single one, any inconsistency, specifically any inconsistency, is going to weigh on their client's credibility. So just advising them to do these types of interviews is doing them a disservice. But to your point, I do think that the issue, I think that raises just an entirely different set of issues. And I think, Molly, what you're saying is absolutely true. Like in our cases, when we have a criminal case, it's not unusual for us to go back to a scene because we want to evaluate and things of that nature. Right. But I think doing so in this case is inherently premature. Nobody's been charged with anything. So I think doing it at this point certainly raises more questions than answers. It's certainly going to put them under more scrutiny. And if anything, I think part of it should have been, this is not the time you should be amplifying it. This is the time you should be lowering the temperature. And they're just not doing that.
So Molly, again, I hate to just keep, beating the drum on this, but do you think that this was a strategy that they came up with? They had to. I mean, if they have attorneys and whatever, you think that there's like some crisis PR person saying this is a good move? Because I just don't see it. I don't see any crisis PR person saying, go back to the island and publicly and put it in the, I don't see it.
Right. You have to wonder who's behind the scenes, making these moves. And I tend to think when moves like this happen, there's not a trained crisis person there, but there might be a lawyer or someone there who thinks they are. I second what the judge said, and I want to follow up on her line about amplify. When you amplify something, you are putting yourself into a conversation. And if you're talking about defamation, well, now you're a part of that conversation. So it makes it more difficult to claim it and actually prove it, when you do this. And this is a move where they're also complaining about the backlash. So you can't have a megaphone and amplify and then complain about the acoustics around you. You're participating in what you are complaining about. And it just adds more noise to this case. The bottom line, and both of you know this, what the public wants and what the public is expecting is just the truth. You said this down right at the beginning. Right. This is where transparency comes in. This is what we're investigating. These are the facts. This is what we know. This is what we don't know. This is what we're going to do next. Simple. But all this other noise that they're adding in there, these moves, creates conversations. And conversations are what complicates things.
Molly, and I don't think you can't be mad at the people who are reporting on how you sort of bungled the beginning, because, people said, well, it's suspicious that they're not talking to the media. And I've always said that, you should lawyer up, right? I mean, you know what I mean? Unless you think like, hey, look, I had nothing to do with this. I'm fine. I'm going to say it. But if you're anywhere near, the sort of the center of this, it's not a bad idea to get a lawyer. Judge, I'm sure you agree with me on that. However, to then get a lawyer and not talk to them, but then go out and do interviews. So it's like, and so then why are you mad at the media and the internet for speculating something that seems contradictory, Molly? Do you understand what my point?
Don, the photo you have up right now explains it perfectly. This is a photo, an attorney let's get into the optics of it. This is not someone who doesn't want to be seen on the island trying to get background information. This is all optics. I mean, down to the color of the tank top even. So they want to learn more. They're putting this information out there. They're putting it out to the press. They're putting these statements there. And the quotes that are being used, they're almost like creating this barrier around the boys, in this area of town. We are seeing move after move after move, but they're crying, they're using silence as official reactions to everything. And their legal reaction to it is just silence. When there's silence, it creates this vacuum. And when you have the vacuum, it is filled with this type of noise where commentators are brought in, lawyers are doing their own photo ops, while they're looking at Horn Island. It's the noise that gets away from really, at the end of this, is a mother grieving a child who has passed away, and she doesn't have answers. That's what that's where now all these optics, we're losing that focus. That's what matters. And that's what the messaging should stick to.
This episode is sponsored by Physician's Choice. Now, you know that feeling when you eat legumes and even sense a capsule is
to the truth of what happened to Nolan Wells. That's all that matters to us.
Is this about defamation for those young men?
That's all a distraction.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, sir. Ciao.
Thank you. And we're back. Judge Trotman, what do you think of that? I mean, he's an attorney, you're an attorney. He says it's a distraction.
I think anytime when there's lawyers that are coming in a case that has not yet been charged as a criminal case, I think that's a fair statement. I think the way that there's some moves have been made since these attorneys have gotten involved, I think it is a distraction on some level, because it's taking us away from the evidence building that is so important during this time. And it's like the longer you keep it out there and you keep allowing people to speculate on what's actually being done or what's actually being said, it just creates more of a vacuum, like Molly said, that we just can't ignore. Whether it's journalists talking about, other lawyers talking about it, people talking about it, all of those things, and particularly, which is why, like on my legal briefs, trying to like simplify it so people aren't getting caught up in all of what's going on and being able to focus on the evidence and the facts, because that's what's going to bear out. I do think it is telling, though. I think that once there were so many issues with the autopsy initially, and it wasn't explained in such a way to the public.
I'm sorry. I thought y'all could do the poll. Y'all got to be on StreamYard to do the poll. I'm gonna make sure I do polls on the actual website that you guys are streaming through. I'm sorry about that.
I think that was one of the biggest things that sent people in a spiral, because people don't understand the issue of pathology and testing and things of that nature. But I do think the biggest thing, I think what Attorney Crump has done, especially in discussing the independent autopsy, was pointing out some of the things that not only we have to wait on, but things that raises more questions that just simply have to be answered for the sake of getting to the truth of what happened to Nolan.
Molly, I've been fascinated by not only the reaction to this, so many people are interested, and I get it now. I've spoken to so many people, but still, I am surprised by the amount of attention it's still getting. And I think it's in large part because of what we talked about, that there's not much transparency around it. As you are sitting here and watching this, I wonder if if you were advising some folks, what you would think. And then in your experience as a crisis PR person, watching what's happening now, especially with this administration and the First Amendment, are you shocked by, because this is an attorney who represented Donald Trump is the reason that I'm bringing it up. How do you feel about what's happening with, you know what I mean?
I don't. I definitely know what you mean. There's two different liabilities here, and what Judge Trotman was mentioning is, the complications, legally, and where you can't release autopsy findings, and that creates this vacuum, and it has to be filled. And what we're seeing in this story is it's being filled with an ideology attached to it, which also complicates it. We've seen this move, definitely. We've seen it politically, certainly. I've seen it for years in my work. It's when that first move is that legal intimidation, that cease and desist, that we want to paint the public as the problem. Then we paint the press as the problem. Whenever blame is attached to any public narrative, I'm looking for those patterns that there's whether it's a red herring or a distraction just until we get some of the facts there. But this story has an intentionality to it where it's becoming two sides now. If you bring one of the friends and you have them speak to someone who has a political side, you're not getting to the truth. You're only speaking to half an audience, and now you're ignoring another half of an audience. That's not getting to the truth. That's just speaking to one audience. And then it complicates it, Don, and you know that. And that's why the case is where we are right now. It's ongoing.
Amen. Look, someone said, one of our Lemon legends, I think it was Jen Griffin, who said, very good question, Jen, very good question. When was the last public update or press conference from the investigators? Do you guys know?
No.
I've been covering it for a month. I think the first thing was a statement made by Ledbetter, who's the sheriff. And then in that he said, well, we're not looking, he said, I'm paraphrasing here. We don't think that there was any foul play or whatever. We're looking at this as an accident. And that was the last public thing where they came out and did it, not like individual short interviews or whatever it is. Someone caught up with him as he's walking, to his car or walking into the precinct or whatever you want to call it. But when was that? I haven't seen one. I think the DA made a statement on social media just saying we're not going to rush to judgment and we're not going to be rushed. But no one has said anything. Have you guys seen anything? Madam Crisis PR person, Madam Judge, have you guys seen anything?
No, but I haven't seen anything, but I will say this, having following a lot of these cases, let's look at a different piece or look at the other end of the spectrum. Let's look at Nancy Guthrie for a moment. That was a case where the local Pima County was speaking a lot, too much, every media opportunity, everything, where it almost got worse. And I know this in my work, people do get nervous about backlash, and they get nervous that backlash is going to increase the scrutiny, which then points a light onto other areas that you maybe don't want to see. So I'm not surprised when people don't want to be public about something, but being public and lacking transparency are two different things, like both true. And that's what I think is happening in this case. Like, I can give grace and say, I can understand why they want to be cautious in messaging. I can see that. But it's lack of transparency that creates the problems that we see happening now.
Judge?
Absolutely. But again, I think part of it is at this point, when you're maybe 2 weeks in, just simply say we're investigating, we're exploring all of the leads, tips, just say something. I think not saying anything and the first thing that we hear is that we presume that it may be accidental. And then here we are over a month later and not one word in a tweet. That does not help cool the temperature, not on a case that's been getting national attention from day two, literally from day two. So I certainly agree. At least come on and say something. Say the things that we expect you to say. We're in an active investigation. We're exploring all leads. We want to make sure that that there's no stone left unturned. All of those things that we expect when we know the case is getting national attention. And unfortunately, that just hasn't occurred.
Thanks for watching, everybody. I appreciate you. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss anything. We're live weekdays at 10 a.m. and 5.
Like Keisha say it clear, real talk lives right here. Yeah.
Is a bunch of suspicious surrounding this entire event. So we still want to know what really happened on Horn Island, okay? Nobody has been charged as of yet, but what I want you guys to understand is in order for someone to be charged, there just has to be reasonable reasonable doubt or something like that. If I'm saying it wrong, please correct me in the chat, okay? So let me give you guys one reasonable doubt. Hey, Warren Hawkins 6515, you finally became a member. Welcome. All right, so let's get into just one little thing. Oh, we're gonna get into Dr. Umar. Yes, y'all, I did watch it, and y'all was right. It was explosive. I had to watch it a couple.
Willie D Live.
What's up, family? The woman who has been exposing all of those who might be involved in Nolan Wells' murder. Yeah, fam. Well, she's now having a life threat. Ever since she drove around and showed all those cameras. They got cameras on buildings, cameras on businesses, cameras on homes, cameras on the docks, cameras everywhere. So basically, this woman right here, Just Bree, is saying that ain't no way they could not have footage. If that is a such thing as an investigation, it's impossible for them not to have footage of what happened to Nolan Wells. Impossible. It's impossible. She drove around Ocean Springs and she located several cameras all over the place. There's cameras everywhere, which a lot of us suspected in the first place. We said, man, there's cameras everywhere. Hell, even where you live at, you can't go anywhere without being watched. They got a camera everywhere. They're watching everything. So it's impossible to have all those cameras out there and nothing be recorded. Nothing. It's almost akin to police officers, 5-6 police officers pulling up and they end up killing somebody, but none of them had their body cams on. Think about what I just said. So she going hard. I mean, salute. In fact, let me give her the proper salute. Breathe. I ain't got no problem with that. Yeah, she putting in the work, man. She giving them that work. Yeah, she's Just Breathe on TikTok.
You guys, I'm gonna come back on at 10 o'clock for sure. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. However, you guys, I want to keep this in y'all head. These boys said they called Nolan mom around 11 p.m. or something like that, right? If Nolan didn't have his phone, they never met the parents. How were they able to call his parents? Those are things you got to ask yourself. You know what I mean? It's a lot of things that you have to really listen to. Not listen to because it's so much information they're putting out there. Because some of that stuff is not real. Some of that stuff they're out there, you know what I mean? Putting it out there just to, I don't know, to have you all over the place because they know that we get down to the business. You know what I mean? Or whatnot. You done brought PR people out there like we really give to whatever about you doing whatever you're doing. That is dumb. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, now they're trying to say it's a fake altercation. Now all of a sudden he was alive at 5. Get up out of here. I don't want to hear that crap now. I don't want to hear it almost a month later. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear it almost a month later either. You know what I mean? Thanks for the love. You're going to wait almost a month to say, oh, by the way, he got into another altercation. I don't believe none of that. I believe exactly what I heard on the 911 call. I'm sorry. Nobody's going to change my mind on there. Listen, no one is going to change my mind on that. None of that makes sense. You can keep putting stuff out there. We don't care. we're sticking to what we heard, not what you tell us. See, they've been so used to getting our leaders and preachers to tell us stuff till we believe even stuff we don't even see with our naked eye. So I'm not believing nothing until an arrest comes. When y'all arrest somebody, that's when I'll shut the F up. And when y'all arrest that person, you ain't gonna get to just do that, because they're trying to pin that on somebody. In my opinion, that's just an opinion. It is all alleged, y'all. I just think that they're trying to figure a way to get that off, get it off from whomever really did it. I think it's somebody grown, to keep it a buck, because I think he was choked. I'm just keeping it a buck. I think that young man was choked. It is barbarian behavior to try to put something on the boy's mom, because you are getting whatever you're getting. Y'all shouldn't have acted so nonchalant in the beginning. Even listen, even if you didn't know what to do, and even if you were scared to come to the funeral, right? I still would. If that's my best friend, that means we got a gallery of effing pictures. Y'all could go get money in his name, but you can't post one picture of him saying, y'all only seen 2 or 3, 4 pictures, and it's every picture was based on that party alleged they went to. Show me some more. Show me a gallery of pictures. Y'all been knowing each other how long? Show me like weekly, like post them mugs. You know what I mean? Put them up. It's like that boy's mama said, I never met him. And I believe she never met him. You know what I mean? I believe she never met him. And that's just what I believe. So you guys, I'll be back on later. I'm gonna have some notes because I'm taking notes. I'm finna put TikTok is getting on my nerves with my videos too, because they've been trying to say community violation because I've been putting too many videos up. Okay. But I'm here to whatever I can spread. We are all watching this at the same time. I'm not trying to watch it before you to understand stuff. I want to understand just like you. I'm sitting in the audience with you guys, watching this stuff unravel, watching how many roller coasters till we get to the end. Until we get there. If they did not do it, I pray to God that we can prove that they didn't do it. But whoever did it, I could tell you this. They need to burn and never see daylight ever again, because that's wrong. That's wrong. So all you could do is hope we could cross our fingers and try to get this ran smoothly or whatever. You know, powers will change in a couple of years. Like, I think we got like 2 more years to deal with. I mean, it is what it is. I'm a Republican, but I'm sick of dealing with what we're dealing with right now. So I pray you guys go out and vote just as well. Please go out and vote. Please, please, please. But you guys have a great day. I'll be back on later on.
Looking for a K-12 education that goes beyond the textbook, right from the comfort of home? Welcome to a new standard of online learning.
Beyond general education, our students dive into specialized virtual labs for real-world job readiness. Genealogy lab, historical lab, civil law, and our media and public speaking lab.
We prepare global citizens with immersive Spanish and French language tracks. And because we're proudly Florida-based and Step Up certified, families can access the elite education through state scholarship programs.
Diverse representation, academic excellence, and career readiness, delivered entirely online, wherever you are. Secure your child's spot today. Secure your child's spot today. Visit our website to enroll.